Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Martin King from SW6 Blues Pride of London and Matty Nash from UK Casuals. And today we've got part 2 of Andy Scott telling us all about his time being an author and being a Chelsea fan. The first one smashed it. We've had so many views, so many lovely comments, and it's lovely to welcome Andy back. Good afternoon, Andy.
Afternoon. Lovely to be
mate.
Thank you.
You've just been on holiday to Tenerife, and you
Indeed.
look well, mate.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
I thought you might have been out in Belfast today for the Chelsea game. No?
No, not today. No,
didn't fancy it.
Just busy. We still got stuff going on in the house.
Tenerife in Belfast is a bit of a contrast.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Bit of a difference in temperature, I'm sure.
Very much.
And I've been noticing on Twitter you've uncovered some more family photos of Chick.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
And more information about him.
Yes, we had a ceremony on Sunday down in Kent. Chick got officially inducted into the British Wrestlers Legends Hall of Fame. So he collected that. We then popped along to see his daughter, my cousin Iris. And I wanted to go back through the contacts book because there was a couple of names that I needed to check out and try and get some clarification. And one of the incidents that's reported in the book about a fight that Chick gets into when he's on the doors in the West End. There was a big newspaper article about it. There's a chapter on it in the book. Basically, the club that he was on the doors of was never named. And there was obviously a reason behind that. We suspected that he worked the doors of the Astor Club because of the connection with Princess Margaret and obviously Billy Hill living in Barnes, but also something that came out shortly after the incident was an article by Johnny Nash of the Nash family, basically saying about what his doormen could do and how they could take care of themselves and, keep the club sort of trouble free. Well, in Chick's contacts book is the Astor Club, which proved a point basically that obviously that was one of his doors that he was working, because there were several other clubs listed altogether, and the Astor Club was bolting in with that. So we're pretty 99% certain that was
the club.
Yeah.
And that was owned by the Crays, wasn't it? The Astor Club.
The Astor Club. No, there was I don't know if it was. I don't think it was owned by them. There was a guy called, I'm right in thinking now, a guy called Benny Green who was managing it. There was a lot of involvement with various different crime families that were around at that time. The Nashes were heavily involved. I think Johnny Nash's brother was actually on the door as well. At that club. But obviously you had a load of famous faces going through at that point. One of which was Tony Armstrong Jones, who was a runner back in the day for Billy Hill before he became Princess Margaret's husband. Yeah. So Charlie Richardson had mentioned a few bits and pieces in his book. So that sort of, when I was doing the research, that sort of enabled me to, delve into that club a bit more with regards to who went through there,
Where was the club in London? Was it over the East End or?
No. The Astor Club was West End. Yeah.
Is it still there as a building?
It's still there as a building. Yeah.
What is it now then, Anne?
I think it's a hotel now.
Right.
I'm going to go along there actually and see what's there now. But as far as I'm aware. But yeah, we found some old regiment pictures as well.
I see them. Yeah,
some quite.
See, I love all that old stuff like that. Yeah. What you're doing, I told you before, Jan done it for my granddad, Tiger. And got all these boxing records out, but Geezer done it, put into an album and all that. And I love all that old stuff. Yeah. Because we can't talk to them now and ask them about stuff. So what you unearth, it gets you excited, doesn't it?
Yeah. And we've just had we just had confirmation today. The plaque for Chick's double life-saving rescue at Hammersmith. That's going to be installed on a bench, obviously right bang smack next door to the bridge, and that's going to be early September.
Oh, brilliant!
Happen. So
yeah,
yeah.
no,
give me permission
that's
to
really good, Andy.
Thank you.
That you've done that and that you've persevered with it, because
yeah,
that little bit of history shouldn't be forgotten. So I'm glad there's a symbol that pays tribute to it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
And I admire, Andy, you've chased it all the way through and got it going all the way through. You never, you're like a dog with a bone. You never gave up. You kept going. And no, you was. You
no,
player, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, as quite a few people know, I can be a bit of a persistent bugger when I
I admire you for what you've done, and it's great that you've done it. Now, the last time we spoke, and just quickly, how's the book doing now? More sales? More we runs?
We sold another half dozen on Sunday. I've just ordered another 50 because I've been booked for the Richmond Heritage Festival at the end of September to do a talk there, which will be talking about both books, and also Riverside Studios. I popped along there last week, and they want me to do something around the time of the plaque installation, so do an author event there as well.
Oh, brilliant!
Yes, I'm going to be ordering some more books as well. So yeah, all good.
And the other thing we want to talk to you about, because you got us all excited just before we went last time, was you was one of, was it 30 people saw Oasis?
Yes.
Right.
How
did that come about?
Right. So what happened was, we're going back, where are we? Early 90s. I was in the print industry at the time. I was working for a graphic design company in Birmingham, and I was doing a lot of stuff for fanzines, Chelsea fanzines and music fanzines, and I was really started getting enthusiastic about my writing, and I realised that I would like to do that as a job. So I started looking into the ins and outs of what I'd want to do. Would it be sport? Would it be music, etc.? And where I was living at the time in Birmingham, in Kings Heath, just across the road was a music promoter from me, a guy called Dave Travis, and he put on gigs all around the Midlands and basically all around that area. He had it sort of sewn up. So places like people from the Midlands will know pubs like Hummingbird. The one that we're talking about was the Jug of Ale, which used to be in Moseley. Great big old massive pub on the Moseley Road. And loads of little clubs, little independent clubs. There's a few that are still dotted about, but names that have disappeared now. And he was putting on gigs all over the place. And I approached him and said, look, I want to do some, try and get some music journalism going. Do something. Is there anything I can do for you? And he said, yeah. He said, great. I want to try and get some more publicity for the gigs that I put on. So he said, if you can come and, I'll stick you on the guest list, come to as many gigs as you want, whenever you want, just do a review and try and get me some coverage. And the paper that was doing a lot of the gig reviews at the time was the Birmingham Post and Mail. A guy there called Simon, who lived quite close to me in Kings Heath, funny enough. And so what I'd do, I'd go along, watch the gig, try and get an interview maybe with somebody. And we're talking about the early days of Britpop. So bands like Oasis were obviously starting then. Blur were sort of in a second phase, if you like. There were groups like Baby Bird that were around. Who else? Pulp were still sort of bubbling away.
Yeah, I'll say Pulp. Yeah.
So there was all these sort of groups coming through and playing these gigs, and I'd just do a review, crash it out, and then send it into the Birmingham Post and Mail and try and get something. And I got a call from the guy at the Birmingham Post Mail. He phoned me up and he said, look, for fuck's sake, stop sending me this stuff. He said, it's excellent. He said, I can't use it. But he said, I want you to do some freelance work for me. So he said, I'll send you out. You do a review. This is the days of electronic, basically doing what we're doing, sort of thing. Yeah. So I had to phone over my copy, and somebody at the other end would be, typing it up, hot metal and whatever, and bosh, next day it'd be in the paper.
And did they print it, Andy?
Yeah. This is so I'm getting bylines and stuff in the paper before I'm even a qualified journalist, and getting paid for it, and then getting free tickets bands. And watching bands. And what happened with what happened with Oasis was Dave dropped me a line and just said, we're putting on a band at the Jug tonight or whatever, can you come along? And I went, oh yeah, all right. And he went a bit loud, apparently, he said a bit naughty as well. He said they come from Manchester. He said I've heard some good things about them. And the band that he was in close contact with, who I've seen and know of and have met, was the Real People. And Oasis have been doing their demo tapes in the Real People studio. If you listen, the Real People are from Liverpool. And if you listen to a lot of the early Real People stuff at that time, you can hear where Oasis have sort of picked up their influence, if you like, their early sound from that What's the Story Morning Glory album. It's all sort of delved out of the Real People sound, if you like. So he said to me, yeah, come along. He said, I'm not expecting a fantastic attendance. He said, but I think they need some publicity, So anyway, go along there. And the venue at the time, in the Jug, was upstairs. So you had to climb up the stairs. And it was basically a huge, great pub downstairs. There was snooker tables, pool tables and everything, great big windows and whatever. And when I turned up there was only a few people dotted around. I thought, oh, this is going to be shit, I thought, well, free gig, I'll watch it, see what they're like, Anyway, they come on. I think the first song, I think, was Supersonic, that they played. And like I say, there was about, when that first song kicked off, there was probably about 15, 20 people in the audience. And literally everybody just went, and I think the bloke next to me sort of spilt his drink because the music was like that loud that come up from the speakers. And suddenly a few more people from downstairs obviously went, what's going on upstairs, and come upstairs. So the crowd swelled a bit. So there was probably about, like I say, 30 people in the audience. And then as they went into it, Oasis sort of got into their stride a bit more. But I was standing there and I thought, my ears they're hurting. They're really hurting. It was that loud. And it was fantastic. And I afterwards, I said to Dave, are you booking them again? And he goes, yeah, not half. And I went, well, they're flipping out. They're really, really good. And he goes, well, they're coming back. And they came back. They supported St Etienne. I want to say, I think it wasn't the Custard Factory. I think it was the Old Town Hall in Birmingham where they played. And again, because I'd seen them, I was saying to a few mates that I work with, I said, oh, you've got to come along and see this group. Oh, no, they'll be crap. I said, no, seriously, you've got to come along and see these guys. And like I say, they were support, and they come on again with all the attitude and whatever. And I said I think I went with my mate Steve at the time, and I said to him, stand back, from the speakers. And he went, no. He said, I want to go up the front. I said, no, seriously, don't. Stand back with me up here if you know what's good for you. And we stood at the back, and he went, Jesus Christ. Because whatever they'd done, I don't know whether they, like, one of them one of them instances where, like, you know, they say all the sound level's gone up to 11. I think it must have gone up to about 15, you know, on the sound deck or whatever. But yeah, it was just amazing. And that was all pre, obviously, the first single coming out and everything. And the next time they come back, Dave had booked them at Wolverhampton Civic. And we went along there. And that was just sort of the cusp of all of it sort of really kicking around for them.
Did you ever get to interact with them, Andy? Did you ever get to speak to Liam and Noel?
Only backstage briefly at the St Etienne gig, just to say hi, you know, who I was, and that I'd seen them at the Jug. And that, you know, that was
what were they like to speak to? Because obviously on stage they've got all the Mancunian attitude, as you said. What were they like to speak to backstage?
Well, at that stage, they were very. They were still full of attitude, but they were very appreciative of somebody acknowledging the fact that they were making good music. They knew it, sort of thing, when they would come on. Noel would be quite full of it, and obviously Liam had the whole frontman thing down to a T. But you know, they're completely different from like when they broke. Just the dress and everything, because funnily enough, another friend of mine, Neil, who does the 80s Casual Classics site.
Oh, Neil Primmett.
Neil Primmett, yeah. I think he booked them probably around the time of that Wolverhampton Civic gig, and he had them down, obviously, in his neck of the woods around Luton, and I think he'd supplied them with a load of Adidas trainers at that time, the Gazelles and whatever. So they got in with him as well. But yeah, I mean, you know, it was just it was one of them gigs that you had to be at, you know.
You saying that, Andy? I actually met them. Me and Martin Knight actually met them and spoke to them.
Yeah.
We went to Irving Welsh was friends with them. We went to a play of Irving Welsh's up at the Dominion at Tottenham Court Road, and I was having a piss. And Liam Gallagher was standing next to me. And he said to me, this is halfway through the play. What do you think of it, mate? I said, yeah, it's all right. He said, in that Manc accent, he said, well, it's better than the fucking Mousetrap, isn't it? And then we went back to China Whites afterwards, and we had a drink and spoke to them. And they were just normal. A lot of that shit is an act, isn't it? As you just said.
Yeah.
It's all bollocks, mate. But they are really deep. They love their football. They love a drink. Love everything else what goes with being a pop star. And I thought they were really... People say to me, have you met them? I say, yeah, me and Martin met them. And they were really nice geezers. Yeah. I couldn't, you know... And as you just said, you could see the potential in them. And then as they get bigger and bigger, they get more sort of bolshy and play the part. But I love them, I've actually met them,
Just a quick note, just to say, we've got Martin Knight coming on soon, haven't we, Martin?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Yeah.
And Ginger Mick said to say hello to you.
Indeed. Yep.
Yeah. How do you know Mick and Kirk and all them? Just through what you was doing before, or?
Well, I think I might have mentioned to you. I'm not sure if I did or not. But Ginger Mick, I first got in with them. I was knocking around on the casual scene in around the time, obviously, the gig. Well, the appearance that Mick was referring to when they were on the pitch. I'd seen them knocking around Fulham, Hammersmith, because I was going to gigs around when I was living in London at that time. They played the Fulham Greyhound. They played a club at the top of Putney Bridge, I think it was, as well. All around, Accent were doing gigs. So,
did Accent actually play at Fulham's ground? Did you just say?
No.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's just Chelsea's on the pitch, and that come through Nevin. I think I think I'm right in thinking Nevin was.
He was a big fan of theirs, wasn't he?
He was a big supporter, because he used to do the column, the music column in Bridge News at the time. So, that's how I know Ginger Mick. And I did some stuff with a band a couple of years back called the Goldhawks, a Who tribute band. And we went down and we was interviewed on Ginger Mix radio show that he does down there.
That's it, yeah. So you're saying you wanted to be a journalist. Was you reading things like Sniffing Glue and all that when the punk scene was out?
That was, I suppose that was a bit early for me. When I was knocking around, I was more on the mod side of things. So extraordinary,
the Jam and all that.
Exactly, yeah. Extraordinary Sensations that Eddie Pillar had started to do then. I did some. I think I did some stuff for Extraordinary Sensation. I did quite a few bits and pieces for mod scenes around that time. And again, just from blagging it, going to gigs, you know, and basically saying, "Can I interview you after the gig or whatever?" And then again, just fronting it out with people and just saying, "Look, I'd love to come along and do an interview with whoever." But the James Taylor Quartet I did down in Brighton after one gig. So yeah, it just, you know, as you know, it's just having the balls to do it. Of course, having the fun.
It's called a bit of networking, isn't it?
That's indeed, yeah.
Exactly what I'm doing now. Reaching out to ex-football casuals. I reached out to Martin. They either say yes or no, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They can't say anything. Andy, the band you said who influenced Oasis, whatever happened to them?
The Real People are still going. I was lucky enough to see the Real People on one of the last tours that they come down to London. They played, of all places, they played a chapel at the back of King's Cross and St Pancras. Very, very small place. And a real unusual gig. And again, there was like probably about 50 or 60 people there. And it was all, you know, just chairs basically in the actual chapel. I took some pictures somewhere. I'll have to try and find them and dig them out and post them up on Twitter. But the acoustics in there were fantastic. They come down. Their manager or booker at the time, he booked them. He said, like, "I've got you a gig in London," and I don't think they even knew the venue because I spoke to them pre them coming on for the gig, and they were just like, "Mate, we don't know. We didn't even know we were going to be playing this place or whatever." But they said the acoustics are fantastic. So it went down a storm. It really did. But again, such a small enclosed gig. That was probably about three years ago. But every now and then they'll come up, they'll do a gig. But it's the sibling rivalry thing again. You got the two brothers in the band.
Who was in that? The Real People.
Yeah, you can ask me that.
Were they from Liverpool, Andy?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Were they anything to do with Powell Fountain and Shack? Remember Powell Fountain?
I do remember Powell Fountain. No, I don't think they are. I'm good friends with Peter Houghton of The Farm.
Yeah, I know Peter,
Yeah, and they were knocking around, I think around the similar time. They've been going a good few years, the brothers. But they had a massive fallout. They didn't talk to each other for years and years, and then suddenly they come back and they done a gig over Wimbledon, a theatre. Again, just like a one-off thing, and it all sort of snowballed from there. Albums started to get re-released and redone and whatever. But yeah, they were giving Oasis free time in the studio to record their demos, so they were quite influential in Oasis's sound, you know.
Oh right, that's it. Yeah. That's interesting. And did they do any albums, the Real People?
Yeah, there's probably about half a dozen albums kicking around of theirs. Basically, the first one called The Real People. I think that's the one to, if you want to get an idea of where they've come from and their sound at that time, sort of when we're talking late 80s, early 90s, around the time when Happy Mondays was sort of just kicking off, but again hadn't exploded. It's all that sort of baggy feel, if you like. You know, they've got the long curly hair and all that kind of thing, baggy tops and all this.
Scruffy bastards.
Yeah, yeah. But it gives you a feel of that era. But
Soap Dodgers. It's funny I should say that because we're having a bit of a Twitter war with the Scousers about who started the casual scene. And
I remember you.
So I'm upsetting there's a shoe shop or a business called Transalpino, and they completely do not agree with Martin's version of where the casual scene started. There's a bit of internet war going on at the moment between SW6 Blues Pride of London and Transalpino.
Right.
And there's only one person telling the truth, and it ain't fucking them. That's the truth. There you go. All right, then let's get back to what you were saying. Yeah. So, what's your plans for the future then, Andy? Any more books or?
Well, I'm going to be talking to a publishing company, hopefully in the next few days, possibly about doing some ghostwriting for them. And that's on the horizon. In terms of other stuff, maybe a small follow up to London's Lovable Villain. I'm going to be exploring the possibilities of a documentary, and
good idea.
And possibly, again, obviously dependent on what the feedback is, trying to get interest with regards to a film. But obviously that's something that will be a long way off. But we'll see where we go. I'm glad that obviously the Hammersmith thing is finally being acknowledged. The next thing is to get Gibraltar done, which was the first incident. They've copped a deafen, shall we say? Big mistake, because like you say, dog with a bone and won't let it go. So if it means getting on a plane and going over there and knocking on a few doors, then
so be it.
So be it. Certainly, yeah.
Definitely. To be honest, I've spent a lot. As I told you before, I spent a lot of time in Gibraltar. So has my other half, Jan. Dad lived out there, built the runway, which is how it is now.
Right.
And so we sort of know a lot of people out there. Right. And personally, I think they would be over the moon that you would highlight Gibraltar and your great uncle Chick. I think they would go for it. That's the way. They're so proud to be British. They would love that stuff.
Well, the feedback from this side was very enthusiastic. He was up for a Mayor's Life-Saving Award twice over there, but didn't happen. But obviously, I think a similar sort of thing with a plaque at Catalan Bay, where the incident was, would be tremendous. So fingers crossed. Yeah.
You've never been there, Andy, have you? Out to Gibraltar?
I've not. No.
Yeah. Go to Catalan Bay. It's lovely.
Yeah, well, I'll say that's where the incident happened. There is a hotel actually right on the bay, I believe. As well.
At the far end of the bay.
Yeah. So again, using that sort of as a base to hopefully spend a week out there or whatever and see what happens.
Yeah, I think if you went there, they would jump at the chance to highlight what you were doing or trying to achieve. I think they'd be so privileged to want something like that, honestly. And there's so many places along Catalan Bay. There's a little church there with a wall, which you could put a plaque on there. Would be I can picture it now talking about the church where you could put a plaque. I hope you do it because you've really achieved something. Honestly, Anne and I'm well pleased for you.
What made it all the more special was the other month we went down to Bury St Edmunds and the Suffolk Regiment Museum, and where the museum was basically the regimental headquarters at the time, and the museum is sort of the only bit that's left now of the headquarters, and it was where all the troops got kitted out. So where we were standing was where Chick would have stood X amount of years previously. So that was nice to be there. you know, to have actually stood somewhere where he was, you know. Yeah. So,
do you know what year he was out in Gibraltar?
Yes. So the incident happened in 1924, June 1924, because the picture that I put up the other day was in India, and that was 1923. So they obviously moved from India. We knew that the regiment had moved across different areas. So 1924 they were in Catalan Bay, and there's the barracks is there as well.
There's loads of barracks there, Raglan barracks. There's loads of barracks. I mean, as I say, we used to go out there 3 or 4 times a year, and Jan's dad lived out there. But the thing is, what I was going to say to you regarding getting more photographs and information, there's an actual shop what keeps all the old army pictures of every regiment.
Right.
We went in there, me and Jan, and she got her dad's regiment, pictures of her dad building the runway, people building the runway. There's a little shop there's a hotel called the Rock Hotel in Gibraltar, a famous hotel. Winston Churchill, John Lennon, they've all stayed there, all the people, Mick Jagger and all that. And there's a little shop, it will sell you photographs, and they'd go through the regiment chick was in, and they'd come up with a photograph, which would be really of interest for you for even more information.
Oh,
but it's a big shop, and it's got every black and white photo going back to the 1800s when photographs started of army regiments who were based in Gibraltar. So that would give you a good start as well.
Yeah.
But I think you've done brilliant, mate. Well pleased for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right then, mate. That's it.
Marvellous.
And I could just say, your first one, you smashed it.
Yeah.
I think you're on about 1,600 and something.
Right.
And it just, didn't it, Anne? Didn't it, Matty? It just took off, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Pleased for it. All right, that's it then, mate. So
lovely.
We'll speak soon. Thanks for coming on SW6 Blues Pride of London. And what do you reckon tonight? We're going to win tonight, Andy?
I hope so. Villarreal are a fairly strong side, actually. You know, I was impressed with them in their European campaign. The Spanish are always. I've watched a lot of Spanish football when we've been out in Tenerife, and I've always been impressed with their style of play. They are physical, and so it's not going to be an easy one. But you know, quietly confident. I was interested in watching Tuchel's press conference yesterday. I watched that this morning. I like his style that he comes across very positive. In the fact that, like, you know, obviously he takes on board what the reporters are saying. He's obviously got his own opinions and whatever. With regards to signings at the moment, you know, they what is it they say? Never go back. I'm not sure. I'll give Lukaku time. Obviously he did well in Italy, but again it's a different style of play of football. So he's got to come back and readapt to the Premiership style of play. I'd have loved us to have persevered with some of the youngsters in defence a bit more. I still think that's a problem area that needs looking at and resolving. But you know, let's go into this new season with confidence, bearing in mind where we've come from. Be interesting to see what happens at City as well. You know, Liverpool. Yeah, it's going to be another one of them interesting seasons. There's everything to go for. You know, I'm going to the Palace game on Saturday, so looking forward to that. Looking forward to actually being back at a match as well. But the one thing that gets me is and has got me for a long time is the prices. You know, the fans are having to pay an awful lot to see football nowadays, and it just disappoints me really. And one other thing that
just a quick question. You just spoke about prices and saying how expensive they are. Do Do you think that's on purpose to get a different crowd in, a different class of crowd, should I say?
One way you could look at it like that. If you're going to price out the working class fan, if you would like, because obviously, but I would have thought, you want to attract the new breed, which means attracting families and young kids to be the next generation of supporters to follow us old dogs along afterwards. So yeah, interesting thought process, but yeah, it's now a corporate entity.
Oh yeah, completely.
The club is, and the whole foundation of it is, and that saddens me a bit. But what disappoints me more than anything is that, to me personally, and like I say, this is my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
We haven't got anywhere near the class of stadium that befits a club of our standing at present. For me, we are European champions, and rightly so. Absolutely fantastic. That's where we want to be. We've won X amount of Premier Leagues along the way, but that ground now, it's done its purpose, as the old one did, which I love dearly, and Martin and me and you would have grown up in. But now it needs to go on another stage. Man United did it, and did it gradually and built on. Even Villa did it and expanded the ground gradually and built the stands up. And there's nothing to stop us. Listen, we can't go like outwards or backwards that far or whatever it is, but there's nothing to stop us going up and extending the stand. It frustrates me more than anything, because I like the West Stand now, which is where I will be on Saturday. The East Stand, as I said to you in the first interview, was where I sat for my very first game. Back in the early 70s when that opened. But now it just looks so tired and cramped, and from a safety aspect, again, personal opinion, and I'll leave it for conjecture as to people to prove me wrong, but I do have to question how the East Stand gets through a safety test and a certificate. Because
okay then, Andy, unfortunately time is caught us up.
No problem.
So over to you, Martin, quickly, just to end it.
Thank you, Andy. Brilliant, mate, as usual. Let's hope we sign some players, not just one.
So that was Andy Scott, part 2. Be sure to check out the first part. Really interesting fella. Has seen stuff on the music side as well as the football side. And there'll be more videos coming from SW6 Blues Pride of London soon.